thing to do is set x minus 1 equal to 0. So I saw some people multiply this whole thing up. Set each one equal to 0. X equals 1, x is equal to 10. 2 solutions. I would say most of these in this first part. Now, number 2 is not as easy to factor, so you probably want to use the quadratic formula. But when you're solving tomorrow on the test, x squared plus x, you want to subtract 2, so you get minus 2 equals 0. Anytime it's not equal to 0, you want to put it, especially if you have a middle term, you want to get this number so it is always equal to 0. So x squared minus 7x, I go plus 12. Oh, I know two numbers that multiply to 12 add to negative 7. You want to factor. It's when you don't know the factors that then you want to use the quadratic formula. So when you are looking at these and you're trying to decide negative 4n equals 0 means n equals 0. 2n minus 1 equals 0, you're solving for. You don't want to multiply that out. You don't want to waste your time. So tomorrow on the test, I had someone say, can I do quadratic formula for all these? You only have so much time to finish the test in class tomorrow, and you have to finish it in class. So as you look at that first page, question 5. I always have questions on this one. A lot of you got it wrong on the last quiz. What is my greatest common factor as I take a look at that question? Yeah, C. So I'm going to factor C times, I'm left with C minus 6 equals 0. It's kind of like when we're doing those, how long does it take to hit the ground? If you factor me on your greatest common factor, when I look at my solution for this, one answer is C equals 0, C minus 6 equals 0. So C equals 0, C equals 6. If I would have asked you to leave it as an ordered pair, you would have said 0, 0, and 6, 0. They are the x-intercepts, not y-intercepts. So some of you did that wrong on your project. Some of you forgot to put ordered pairs as you were looking at that. So as you look at these, when I get to 13, I don't have a middle term. So I want to recognize, I'm not going to factor, I'm not going to use quadratic, I'm going to get x squared by itself. And this again was the one in the test, the last quiz that a lot of you got wrong. X is now equal. How do you get rid of the square? You take the square root. Positive and negative 7, but you have to have both answers as you look at those. So as you look at that first page and that second page, as you were looking at those questions that I could answer as you are looking at any of those. Yeah.
Number 1.
Number 1. Okay. So when we look at number 1 and we have it set equal to 0, easiest things, multiply to negative 2, well, it's going to be 2 and 1. I'm going to have x and x, but it has to add to a positive 1 in the middle for my middle term. Plus 1 minus, or plus 2 and minus 1. Set each of those equal to 0, and I'm done. Any other questions the first couple pages as you were looking at doing the solving? Anything else? So like, I don't get how to do this. Again, 18. Definitely do not multiply that whole thing out. Set 2x minus 8 equal to 0 and solve for x. Put 6x plus 3 equal to 0 and solve for x. If you have two parentheses, you want to put them equal to 0. Yeah. 17. So I have x squared minus 3x, and I'm going to go with minus 8 because I have to have it equal to 0. So I subtract the 8 from both sides. As I am taking a look at number 17, I can't think of anything that multiplies to negative 8 and gives me negative 3. This is one where I'm definitely using x is equal to, in this case, the quadratic, the negative b. So I'm going to put positive 3, right, instead of negative 3, because it was a negative 3. So I'm going to have plus 3. Then I'm going to go plus minus the square root of b squared. So it's going to be negative 3 squared minus 4 times a is 1 and c is negative 8. So right now, do you have your calculator? We're going to put this underneath our square root in, right? Divided by 2 times 1. So when I am doing question 17, I'm going to have x equals 3 plus or minus 9. Oh, that's going to work out to be a positive number, right? So I'm going to have plus or minus negative 3 squared is 9, plus 4 times negative 4, negative 8 gives us 32, right? So when I added those together, 32 plus 9 gave us square root of 41. right, all over 2. So when I put it in my calculator, I'm going to have 3 plus the square root of 41. I'm going to get that answer, and then I'm going to divide it by 2. That's one of my answers. The other one is 3 minus the square root of 41. I'm going to get this answer once I've added those, and then I'm going to divide it by 2. Those are my 2 solutions. So you should have like 1.7 and negative 1.7 and positive 4.7. Okay. Any other questions as you look at the solving on those 2 pages through 20? As you turn to the next page where they're asking you how to solve, and explaining your reasoning, and then if you would turn, as you look at this one, it's equals a vertex. Once I find that, my domain, if I was asking you for the domain, what kind of x values can you put in? All real numbers. Was my parabola going up or down? No. Going down. So at 2, 3, right, it's kind of wide because it was 0.5. So I had some people that were showing me theirs and they have a really narrow graph. I know that that's wrong right away. What is my range? My range is all reals where y is less or equal to 3. So at this point, how do you figure out how to make your graph? You would probably want to make an XY table. And your vertex is in the middle, so 2, 3. So I might go with 0, or I might go with 1 and 0, if I'm looking at that. So I have 1 and I have 0. Now if you plug 0 in here, the most common mistake is that people think the answer is 3. It's not in standard form. So when you plug in 0, you're taking, if I plug in 0 here, when I plug in 0 for this one, I'm going to have a negative 0.5 times negative 2 squared. And then plus 3. Well, this is 4. 4 times negative 5 is, or times negative half is going to be a positive negative 2. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. So at 0, the y-intercept is not 3. It is down at 1, right? Which means I know that over here, this point has to be at 1. So I don't know if I want to find this point or if I want to go and find another point, but I should be able to get 2 or 3 points, but now I can see my parabola is going down. And I got at least a few of those key ones in there, okay? Questions on any others as you look at this page for making your graphs? Again, if they don't give you vertex form for all the rest of these, question 2, 3, 4, how do you find the x of your vertex? X equals negative b over 2a. When you're trying to find how long it takes to get to the highest point, x equals negative b over 2a. The y coordinate of this is your y of your vertex. Once you get this value, so this is kind of like my x up here in my vertex, this is the x, and then the y is when you plug that value in. But that's what you're using for your vertex for all of them. Axis of symmetry should be an easy question for all of them. It's x equals the negative b over 2a, or whatever the x coordinate of your vertex is. But you have to give an equation when you look at that, okay? I'm not sure if in your textbook, if there's questions, so if you would turn and you have the page 603 that we could look at, that first part had some vocab. This is the beginning on page 603 where they gave you, oh, here's the vertex, axis of symmetry. Here's some notes, like here's how we found it, solving it. You can factor, quadratic formula. This modeling part you didn't have to worry about. That's what we are going to be doing in Unit J. So as you looked at your review, my hint is, yeah, you really need to make sure you've done the review. The last few tests, some of you don't do the review before the test. You're like, oh, I was working on I-9 and I-10 and I-6 and whatever other assignments. Well, that's great and fine, but the tests usually look a lot like something you've seen in your review. So if you haven't done these pages, tomorrow when you take the test, we're turning everything in, okay?